Welcome back, everyone, to the interview. Today's guest has invited her into her home, and that is exactly where we are today. Today's guest is a Korean, but not a Korean. She's French, but not French. Okay, I may have confused you, but the reason I say this is because our guest has been granted a very rare and special status by the Korean government. Now, if you are curious as to find out about her, I'll tell you this much. She is an honorary Korean citizen. Let's invite her in. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Oh, wow.
I am bringing tea for you, Jennifer.
Thank you. Should we take a seat?
Yes, we should. Yeah. It's nice.
It's nice.
To be
very
with
different.
you today. Yeah. This is techucha, you know.
Jujube?
Jujube
Yes.
tea, yeah. And this is just some
sweets.
Well, yeah, Korean little
Korean treats.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well.
So,
I guess it's home like this.
A special encounter in a bright afternoon.
nice to have you here.
We are delighted by the sweet aroma of jujube tea and Eastern interior decorations.
Such as the tea tables here.
Who is she?
I like to be sitting and
What stories does she have in store for us today?
Now, I introduced our guest, you, as an honorary Korean citizen. You as a Korean, but not a Korean. A French, but not a French.
Oh.
No, but I do know for a fact that recently you were granted a very, very special and rare status. You're a dual citizen, and you were also granted honorary Korean citizenship. Could you tell us the background story about that?
Yes, I guess. Well, I have been working in this field, the Korean, language and culture, and I got interested in everything that is linked to Korea, and I did a few. Maybe we'll talk about this. A few things. Well, shall we say for Korea? Anyway,
Yes, for Korea.
in relation with Korea. So I got this honor
Yes.
to become Korean. I am a Korean now.
Yes.
Today's guest is Martine Prost. She was granted Korean citizenship in 2015 in recognition of her important role in the return of Uigwe, the royal protocols of the Joseon Dynasty. So what exactly is Uigwe? Uigwe is a vast collection of records detailing the royal and state rituals as well as ceremonies of the Joseon Dynasty. During the French campaign against Korea in 1866, French troops burned down the royal library and seized hundreds of books of the royal protocols. These historically valuable records were housed at the National Library of France in Paris. And their existence finally became known to the people of Korea in 1979. It was thanks to Dr. Park Byeong-seon, who was a librarian at the National Library of France at the time. The Korean government, as well as Korean and foreign academics, have since been demanding that the French government return these books. Thanks to their relentless efforts, the French government announced in 2010 that they will send the entire collection to Korea under the condition of a permanent lease. One of the people who contributed to these efforts was Martine Prost, a professor of Korean studies in Paris at the time.
So what was your reaction? How did you feel when you heard about this, that the royal protocols of the Joseon Dynasty were discovered or they were found?
Well, to be frank, I didn't get to know, at that time, in 75, that they've been held there. It was later on in 1991 that,
much later.
Yes, I got to know about this because at that time, on that year, the Korean government made an official request for the return of the archives.
Oh, okay. So that's when you learned about this.
Yeah.
Do you remember the views or perceptions of Koreans? How did Koreans feel about this? Just the general public.
Well, they had two reactions. The first reaction was, wow, this is big news, right? Because those books had been kept in a corner and they're not being used. And actually, they were not even in the Korean department.
Oh, I see.
It was mixed with Chinese books because it was in
Chinese characters? Yes,
Chinese
yes.
character, Hanmun. So no one, really realized that there were those Korean books were there, but they were mixed with the others. So the first reactions were, wow, this is big news, that's good, we know now where they are. But the second was, what this, but how come French Korean scholars or French just librarians didn't realize those books had been stolen in Korea, in Gangwon-do, and if there were Korean books, where are they with the Chinese, documents and archives? So they was a bit upset. There was,
I would assume that a lot of people were
right.
upset.
You feel like, oh, France is so, into history, like library, how. Important, precious are written documents. So it was a bit disappointing. So it was like a dual feeling
I
for
see.
the
Now, there were objections as to return the royal protocols of the Joseon Dynasty.
Yes. Oh, nearly everyone in France was against.
Why were they against it? Why were they against the idea?
You're against it because you have a law that says that once an object, whatever it is, a piece of art, a book, and gets into a collection, national collection, is registered as one item. In that case, it becomes the property the property of France and French people. And you don't give away things that are the property of a state.
But I understand that you did play an important role in convincing or perhaps persuading the French to return the royal documents. Could you tell us about that?
Nearly all the Korean scholars, French Korean scholars, were against. I would say, all of them, I should say even. So I was the only one to really feel like there was a request from the Korean government. So it's normal that we do something. That's what I thought at that time. It's normal that we do something so that they get their property back.
I see.
That's what I thought. Of course, I wouldn't have gone as far as saying, oh, Korean, you should get those back. But since there was nearly a prayer, there was give this to us. It's our history, it's our past. Well, and all the emotion that I could feel, because I was at the embassy a year after I discovered about all this story.
Oh, I see.
In 92, from 92 to 94 to 96, I was a cultural attaché at the French embassy, and I could talk to people about this. I could hear people talking about this, and I could feel the emotion and the love Korean had for their patrimoine, right? And this how we started to work on this very difficult issue,
right?
And it was this period of time that Mitterrand came and brought back, but not to. It's 297 volumes, but Mitterrand, our president, brought back one volume
Just
at
one
that
volume.
time. But still, it was, for me, it was like a success
Right.
in
It was
a way.
a start.
Yeah, it was a start. For Korean, it was just one book, and not even giving it back, just showing that this is a precious book. But as you just said, it was a first step.
Yes.
And I was happy to do that.
The royal protocols, which had been in France for 147 years, finally returned to home soil on May 27, 2011, after a long struggle.
우리의 국력과 대한민국 국민의 열정에 의해서 돌아오게 됐음을 깨닫고
71 books from the collection were unveiled to the public at an exhibition in July. The Royal Protocols of the Joseon Dynasty provides insight into the state and royal events and ceremonies. How did the public feel about the return of the Royal Protocols?
I am touched by the beauty of the books. Just by looking at them, I can see why the French troops thought they had to take these books back with them to France 145 years ago.
I am sad that Korea wasn't able to retrieve the books, but bring them back on a temporary lease. Although people say Korea is growing as a nation, this shows that our country is still not influential enough.
Unfortunately, the ownership rights to the Royal Protocols still belong to France, even now. However, it is important to note that the necessary first steps towards the restoration of Korea's lost legacy has been taken.
Now, I understand that, of course, it wasn't a simple process. I'm sure you couldn't do it on your own. There was an association of supporters for the restitution of the Royal Protocols. Could you maybe tell us about the people that were involved, the members that were involved, and about this association?
I couldn't on my own do something. You know, I was just a professor at the university or in the Korean department. But I got to, for about 10 years, to bring to Korea our presidents, the university, Paris 7 presidents. So, and I insisted on you know, Korean culture, history, the importance of the culture here and education. And I always said, you know, you really have to go to Korea. I know Japan, I know China, but we you know, now it's time. You know, Korea is going to be, you know, get very famous, and we have been in Korean studies for long. A president has to go. So in this process of getting Korea more well known by our professors and especially at high level, president and vice president back to Korea.
The presidents
for example,
of the school and professors of the school
professors
involved.
like especially Vincent Boulanger, the president of university in Paris 7, came with me at the time, and he decided with us to launch this association.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and this association, you'd have some Minister of Culture, very famous French, Jacques Lang, or, you know, former Minister of Culture, who is very, you know, like, interested in Asia, and he gave his really strong support to the restitution of the protocols.
I understand that you created something very Korean in France back home. Could you tell us about that?
You're talking about this garden,
Yes,
which has
yes.
has been made on the top floor of our university in the new campus. So we got the chance to be in the old building and to have this nice place with we call it a jardin suspendu, suspended garden will be the direct translation.
Suspended garden
means just that the garden is not on the level of the street, but it's up in a building. So this garden, I decided, well, I have always supported Korea because it's my country, it's my home in a way, and teaching Korean, I had always to be, you know, not fighting, but to be trying to convince other colleagues from the Chinese and the Japanese department that, you know, Korea had needed some support, help, so that we can get more students and we can, you know, hear more about Korea and teach more about Korean history, culture, and everything. I said, okay, this time there is this patio kind of thing on the 5th floor. here, please, it's my turn. We make a Korean garden. We, I know that Chinese are very eager to, getting involved, and they were, at that time, China was very, very active, trying to find places in Korea where they can show that, their culture.
I see.
And they were ready to give a lot of money at that time, too. But I said, no, it's please do it for Korea.
So, because I was wondering, of course, there were the Chinese studies, other departments, Chinese studies and Japanese studies, and I was wondering how you convinced people to actually create this Korean-style garden. So now I understand.
But there is a secret, actually, behind the story, is that before getting into Korean studies, I did Japanese studies.
You did?
Yes. I started with linguistics and Japanese at the university back in the 70s, early 70s. And so my colleagues, knew me, well, I could speak Japanese. They knew I had been, I'd been studying and I'd been even at the University of Tokyo to do research. So we had a strong connection with the Japanese department, the Korean department and Japanese department. So when I asked for this special, favor to make a Korean garden, I could get help from them.
See.
So that's the story behind this. But then it was really hard.
Which part was hard?
To get the funding and financial support was difficult to get. The Korean position was, well, if you want to make a garden, that's thanks to you. It's very nice and we will appreciate, but no, you should try to find the money in France. But there was no way in France I could get funds. So what I did is that at some point I went to the KBS and I was on the news, KBS News, I think it was 9 News, so it's a big time.
Wow.
Yeah, and had just
news.
1 second or maybe 30 seconds with on TV. But I explained that we have this project to build a small Korean-style garden, and I need, financial support. Would someone in Korean help? And that was the way to do it, because right after that, a certain Kwon Song-jun 박사님, he was a doctor in psychology actually, who was, I don't know this person, but he was watching TV on that day, and he decided to make a cafe, website, and he gathered people who got interested in this project, and from that time they did a lot. I was very, very lucky. They did a lot of meeting and how they could help us, help me and the Korean department to build this garden. And so we got help from the Korean government and financial support.
Tell us about this first visit to Korea.
My first trip to Korea was in 76.
76.
Which is,
it wasn't
you were not born. No, we are not going to get in all these stories, you know.
Okay, forget about that.
Okay. I know Koreans like to hear and to know, to see how. But
Well,
in 70s,
At least we know that you were older than me because you came to Korea
Much
for the
older.
first time in 70s.
Yeah.
So,
I came in 76.
Was this visit planned, or how did you come to Korea for the very first time?
It
What brought you here?
was completely planned.
Oh, it was planned.
Yes, because when I went, I was in Japan, and I came to Korea in '76. I just finished my studies. I was a student at the University of Tokyo, and at the end, when my scholarship was done, I decided to come to Korea. And the funny story is that in Japan, I couldn't hear about anything about Korea. It was like taboo, right? Japanese wouldn't talk about Korea and Koreans. And for me, it was very, very strange because you're in Japan, the nearest country is Korea.
Yes, we're neighboring countries.
Well, you have Russia first, but too big. It's near, and no one talks. And of course, I knew the story, I knew the history and why they wouldn't talk. But then, when you're a student and you're about 30 years old, and you feel even more curious about the country.
Yeah.
So it was planned in this sense, that I wanted to go and see by myself how was Korea. So I took a plane and I came, and it was in March, and it was very cold. And I would say that Korea was even colder in the 70s than now.
Oh, yes.
It was cold. The Siberian winds would come in, and I was like, and I don't like cold.
I don't
So
either.
I came for 2 weeks, and I said, okay, I'll come back. And this is why I came back.
I see.
Yeah, this is a
So
story.
you came during the coldest season of the year in Korea.
Yes.
But winter, I mean, Korea is beautiful in the winter. We've got,
Yes.
anyhow, but it was too cold for you. But you did stay here for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And you came from Japan, so you had experienced living in Japan, but this was your first visit to Korea. What did it feel like, or what was your impression of Korea when you first landed at the airport in Korea?
I was so frightened.
Why?
I was, my first impression was really, really hard. And I remember even now, I get into this airport, and it's all dark. It's cold, so cold, you know, like, and freezing cold. And you have these soldiers, military soldiers, going back and forth with the big
really?
guns. Yeah, well, there was. Yeah, in
I did not know this.
Park Chung-hee 대통령 was governing Korea. It was a very, very strong country, military state. And Kimpo is where you get, you know, people from the outside, from
At the
abroad
time,
coming
it was
in.
Kimpo International
So you
Airport.
have these soldiers coming back and forth, and it's cold and it's dark. And I thought, oh, where is it? Is it a fridge? And why do we have military people in this fridge? And what do I go back? What is it? I knew nothing about Korea.
It was just
So,
coldness.
but then the good story, the good thing is that as soon as I left the building and went and came out of the building, there was this bright blue sky, sun, and of course the cold didn't disappear, but it was so beautiful out there. Just the feeling, the energy from there. So I had really a shock, not a cultural shock, but a natural shock. I don't know. Well, what I should say.
I'm glad that you didn't decide to return to Japan from the airport. You decided to actually step out of the airport. That was good.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah.
So did you experience any sort of culture shock? Or did you not, because it's
Well,
very
a
similar to
culture
Japan?
shock, but not in the way like I'm French and I come to Korea and I have a culture shock. It was a cultural shock because Korea, I had stayed 2 years in Japan, right? And Japanese culture is very, unique. It's very different. from Korea, which has its own unique culture, but the contrast between the two was like a
Right.
cultural shock. So, for example, when I got out of the airport and I took a bus, but you know, first buses they come and it's full, and I couldn't get even got on the bus. So I wait, and then last time, you know, third bus.
Oh, you got on the third
Yeah,
bus.
I got on this third bus with the help of the Chayang, you know, these little girls who were helping, you know,
yes.
people to get in, helping. So it was a lot of
Oh, wow,
This
you
was
remind me
a-
of the old days or the olden
Yes,
days.
you remember
70s we're
the
talking
way
about.
the way they would help people to get
They would
in,
help
and then
people
at
get
the
on the
end, you know, boom,
buses.
boom, boom.
And you would pay them tokens
sure.
or whatever, and they would slam
Slam
the bus and say,
the
okay,
bus and then-
let's go.
Yeah,
Everyone's on
alright,
it.
they would say, alright.
Alright meaning
which I guess
alright.
alright, but it was alright, and then the bus driver would crash and boom and run.
Now, according to, I guess, recent research, now nearly 2 million expats are residing in Korea, and more than 150,000 are actually naturalized Korean citizens, meaning they're married to a Korean spouse. So, I mean, of course, they do have this strong passion for Korea and the reasons as to what brought them to Korea. But I'm curious to know what captivated you. I mean, what about Korea amazed you and attracted you?
Well, very first time I told you, just this energy, this sky and everything. And then living here, what I like and still like is the way you can be in Korea, very formal, and the next minute, very more intimate, familiar with people. When I say a minute away, maybe it's a bit strong, but you can meet people and be, you know, first, you know, you've been introduced, so you kept distance. But for some reason, suddenly people opened their art.
I think I know what you're talking about.
And you became friends, and like, you know, it's like surprising in a way. And the second thing is also a duality between the fact that Korean culture is very delicate, and at the same time there is a kind of rough part in Korean, like even if you look at ceramics, for example, or paintings, it's very, very rough. What's it?
Like
There is refined, but there is something that makes it very human. Something that, a little defect, for example, on the pottery. It's not my own opinion. I heard this, I read this too, but I had this feeling, and after when I read, I said, this is exactly it. The way that they make it, you know, natural in a way.
We visited a yoga center in Hannam-dong, Seoul. Dr. Prost teaches yoga here every week. And she was expecting a special visitor on this day. It was her daughter, Olivia. The resemblance is uncanny. Her husband was also with them. It looks like he's had some practice. Dr. Prost shared that she and her husband practiced yoga together when she was pregnant with Olivia. And we hear there's some good news to share.
엄마 뱃속에서 들었을 때 요가를 한 그 딸이 또 딸도 임신을 했어요. 그래서 좀 특이하게 오늘 좀 느낌이 오네요.
Dr. Prost was teaching her daughter the prenatal yoga she had practiced while carrying her. She communicated her motherly love with her tender touch.
back, completely, and then up. Inhaling, and then you bring your baby forward. Coming down. You breathe out completely. Yes, good.
They showed that the mother-daughter bond is truly one of a kind.
Once you become an adult, and when, especially now that I'm pregnant, you are going to become a parent, a mother and a father. So I think you feel even more touched with that and grateful about life.
After yoga, they headed to the Arirang radio studios. Who were they here to see?
Our son Adrian Lee is having his radio show, the live everyday radio show.
So we're gonna see how well he's doing.
Today is the first time the family has visited the studio for a live broadcast. Adrian Lee hosts a radio show called Catch the Wave, promoting Korea and Korean culture on the global stage, just like his mother.
We would actually build from scratch.
She seemed quite proud of her son.
A house that looked like probably very dangerous as well.
Now guys, I have to stop you out there. We have my family, they just came by for the first time, I guess, while we're doing a live show. My mom is actually filming, she's here because she's filming a show called The Innerview for Arirang TV, and so, yeah, she was just saying hello, hi. My sister's here also, Olivia, and my dad. So maybe we can take a photo later on.
They eagerly greeted each other after the show. It looks like one big happy family. So how did Adrian feel about being visited by his family?
She listens to the program sometimes at home, and she gives me feedback. She's like, oh, maybe you should use this word a bit less. Maybe it's better if you do this. So yeah, that's good.
From time to time.
Merci.
I remember.
Thank you for your feedback.
No, you're welcome. Anytime.
I was very independent and very free to decide, what I want to do, my career. Even when I decided to work for Arirang, she was very supportive.
We were very grateful that she was passionate about Korea, and so she decided to teach us Korean, not directly, but she always made sure that we had a Korean teacher coming at home when we were a child. So I think that was the greatest gift she could, and with my father, give us. Yes.
It was heartwarming to see this tight-knit family who shares an incredible bond. Being a wife and mother comes with daily challenges. But even while balancing work and family life, she never stopped expressing her love for Korea.
Now, we have many books here, and I understand that one of these books is about yoga.
Yes, not many books. We have a few books. Okay, and one is on yoga. You're right. Shall I show it to you?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
The yoga book was published quite recently, I understand.
Well, like 2 months ago, in November, last November. So it's very recent, right?
Oh, wow.
So this is... a book on yoga. Well, actually, 20 years ago, in the same editor, Noonpit, I published this book, which is also on yoga and pregnancy. So you can see, I am 8 months pregnant.
Is that you?
And this is Olivia. And this is my husband, actually, and Adrian. So all the family is here.
Oh, so Adrian, that's your son.
Adrian.
Oh,
Adrian
you were
Lee,
pregnant with your second baby.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So this was 20 years
ago.
And then this is this time.
Right, in November,
November,
as you said.
Yeah.
Now,
2015.
the pictures that we see in this yoga book were actually photographs taken here in Korea, all across Korea.
all across Korea.
Is there any significance behind that? Was there a reason why you chose to take pictures here?
Yes. I didn't want to publish a book with just yoga in a studio, which is also beautiful. But I really wanted to show also my concern and my love for Korea. My project was find a photographer, and the photographer is French. She is a woman, Dana Ramon Capellion, and then go around Korea, just travel in Korea, and find spots where I feel inspired or somewhere, either because it's beautiful or because people are beautiful.
Yes.
So you will see in the book, you have pictures with some Korean people next to me, like this one.
I was flipping
in the market
through the book, and I found very interesting pictures. As you mentioned, this picture is
so
of
this
you.
one. This picture, for example, is just in a market in Gyeongdong Sijang, and actually you could say, well, I'm just taking this posture. It's not even a classic yoga position. But I think yoga, this kind of photo shows, for me, is symbolic of the fact that yoga is not just, like a sport or body action. It's more a way of life, and like getting with the others, talking to them, sharing in a way.
And I think this book well expresses that. I love this picture too.
Yeah, it's Korean. It's fun. It's a bit like kitsch and
it's a yoga pose. This is probably near a port in a market as well.
This is
like
on a harbor. Harbor. It's in Masok.
This is interesting.
And what is nice, what I like about this book is that Korea is changing, and faster than many other countries, like compared to Paris. You go back to Paris, after 10 years back, 10 years away, you go back and you see the same building, the same street, nearly the same shops, nearly. But here in Korea, it's changing so fast that these pictures, they might be historic, evidence that even in the 2015 Korea had this kind of...
Right. Well, time is almost up for our interview. Yes, I had a wonderful time, and I'm sure that our viewers did as well. But last but not least, could you maybe share a few words, say a few words to our viewers that are watching that may not know much about Korea? Any message you would like to convey to them, tell them about Korea?
Well, we are talking about books. Well, what they should do is read this book. It's in French. We can translate it in English. It's not. It has not been translated in English. So
not yet.
Not yet. No. But this is a joke. You don't have to read this book. The best is to come to Korea.
What is that book, though?
This book is on Korean society.
Korean society.
It's in a way an analysis of Korean behaviors. The way it started with very down-to-earth elements. Like the first chapter is on water. The relationship Korean have with water compared to French. You use a lot of water. They love water. You go to Chimjilbang, and in France, you're like in your bathroom, and you have to not to have a drop of water on the side. So you have to be very careful. And I love the Korean way they splash, and all the water comes over, and so
that's why we were slippers in the bathroom.
Or you have also one chapter on pavements in the streets. So it goes more and more abstract at the end, but it's on Korea.
So this is in French, so you can learn about Korea through this book. But yes, lastly, a message.
To Korea is one of the good way to feel the country, be with the people, and you come and you meet Jennifer, and she asks you, what do you think about Korea? Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much once again for
it
this
was
wonderful
nice.
opportunity to interview you, and thank you so much for sharing your home with us and for sharing your stories.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's been a pleasure for me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.